So, thank you everybody for joining SDA Seattle, as we are pleased to have Melissa Esquibel joining us again, this time for a 2-hour Microsoft Word class. Melissa specializes in transforming those people that are confused by technology into empowered users of software tools. And that's what we're looking for today. Melissa is a certified trainer for Microsoft, and she has more than 25 years in business application technology. We're not going to say how many years. She also has the unique ability to make learning programs enjoyable and valuable. Today, she's going to walk us through Microsoft Word and help us with some of the formatting and styles, templates, and so forth that are often frustrating. So we're going to turn this over to Melissa, and we will get started. Take it away.
Thanks, Carrie. Hey, everybody. I'm so glad that you could join me today. This is one of my favorite topics, and those of you who know or have taken training from me before know that I get a little bit geeky about things like Excel, which is my happy place. But one of the reasons I absolutely love teaching this particular course in Word is that I get experts in the room going, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. When I first learned some of these tips, and I used to be a tech writer, when I learned some of these tips, for me, it was like, man, I wish somebody told me that 10 years ago, just counting the hours I could have saved just by knowing a few simple things. So most of what we're going to talk about today isn't rocket science. It is, let me get there we go. We're going to start with the really easy stuff, just getting around Word. Most of you, if you're on this webinar, you are already fairly skilled at your software tools. You're pretty skilled at your productivity suites. You know how to get around them. You watch other people use them, and sometimes you just want to grab their hands and go, stop doing that the long way. So I've got some tips to share with you that you'll know how I feel when I watch some people use it. It's like, no, do this instead. We are going to talk about styles, which I think for many of you are going to solve some of that crazy numbering formatting that you have to do with some of your technical documents that have a specific numbering scheme. We're going to talk about basic document elements, headers, footers, sections, tables of contents, things that can be frustrating if you don't know a few of the tricks to get them to work. And then ways to work with multiple people on a document without wanting to cause them harm. Most of the time when people are working with you on a document, they're like, oh, this is lovely, but I would much rather see this in purple, and now you're dealing with that. So we're going to talk about ways to work with multiple authors that will make your life a little easier. Now, hopefully all of you have this document open in Word. Let me make this a little bigger so you can, actually, let me get it in page layout view so it looks more like what you would have. There we go. So hopefully you all have this, this open. And I'm dragging this out a bit, so some of you who are dialed in are going, wait, what? Carrie sent out this document as part of the registration packet, and so you should have a Word file, a sample file to use. If you don't, if you want to do this little trick, I'll show you this little trick and how I produce this document. I'm just going to do Control-N, a lot of shortcuts today, so if you have a pen and paper to the side or a way to record shortcuts, a lot of them are going to be in the program, but a lot of them are not in the handout. So Control-N, like Nancy, is going to get me a new document. To generate just a few paragraphs of text to work with, what you're going to type in is equal RAND, like random, RAND, open paren, and if you want, let's say 14 paragraphs to play with, you'll type in the number 14 and close parentheses. I know some of you think that you've just stepped into an Excel class, but trust me, type in equal RAND, open paren, 14, close paren, and that will generate a whole bunch of paragraphs for you. So mine actually has some topic titles, which makes it easy. If you're doing this on the fly, you might have to create those. But for this first part, you won't. All right, so let's take in some of my favorite navigation tips, and some of them, again, real easy, like single key, the end key. So if you're in the middle of a line and you just really want to get to the end of this line and delete the word new, you can just press your END end key. Now, some of you aren't used to using these keys on your keyboard, so for those of you that are in front of a keyboard, especially if it's your own, look down at your keyboard. These are usually toward the right and or toward the top right. You're looking for keys that are labeled home, end, delete, page up, page down are usually close by. I want you to notice if you will need to hit a function key to get those to work. So on my Surface device, I have an FN key that I need if I want to use any of my function keys. I do not need them to use home, end, page up, and page down. So hopefully through all my rambling, you all have figured out where your home and end keys are now. And so if you're clicked in the middle of a line like I am here by the word produced, I'm just going to press my end key and now I'm there by and. I think my example was I'm in the middle of this one that starts themes and styles also help keep your document, blah, blah, blah. Clicked in the middle of that, press my end key, and now I can do Control Shift left arrow to select that word new and delete it. Control Shift left arrow. So we have end and home. Home gets you to the beginning of the line. So if I'm here at the end of this line, I just press the home key all by itself, and that will get me to the beginning of that line. Control home, I bet most of you know Control home is the beginning of your document. Control end is useful for a couple of things. So Control end in the sample document should have your cursor blinking right after thank you and exclamation point. Sometimes you might notice it ends up way down here somewhere. I've just gone to the next page, Control end, and you can see the page break here. Have you ever printed out blank sheets of paper after the end of your document? Right, so that happens. And sometimes it can be hiding things like, let me go here, hiding things like a page break or a section break, next page, something like that. And you don't see it until you work with Show Hide, that little paragraph marker on, and now you can see the section break and you can see how you ended up on another page. So I'm going to delete these blank lines and get my cursor back at the end of the line. Now, if you haven't got Show Hide on because it irritates you, turn it on anyway. I'm going to go ahead and do this. This guy right up here at the top. Make sure that that paragraph marker is on. Now, you don't have to keep it on forever, but when you're working on complex and formatting documents, that kind of thing, you absolutely want to work with it on because it will help you see some of the things that may be causing you problems. Wild, crazy section breaks, if you've done columns, for example, can really throw page numbering off, can throw off how your document flows from page to page. So work with it on, and before you print, Control End. Each and every time before you print, Control End. That will tell you where the end of your document actually is. Control down arrow, let's look at that one. Control down arrow takes you to the top of the next paragraph. So as I do Control down arrow, it's jumping from topic title to topic paragraph, topic title to topic paragraph. Everywhere a paragraph marker exists, that is to word a paragraph. I think most of us think about this as a paragraph. Yeah, I can never do that when I need to. Most of us think about this as a paragraph, but to word this is also a paragraph. So Control down arrow, Control up arrow will get you up to the next or the previous paragraph. Control right arrow gets you to the next word. So a lot of us spend a great deal of time squinting at the screen trying to click in exactly the right place, and we're off by one. So instead of doing that, use Control right arrow, Control left arrow to get precisely where you want to be. If you want to select it, like if I wanted to select the word up, Control Shift right arrow. And that selects up, and if you'll notice, let me make this bigger here. it also selected the space between the word up and where. So if I were to delete it, I'm going to put it back now, it wouldn't leave an extra space. That, by the way, is another reason why I like Show Hide on. I can see all the spaces. So sometimes you're looking at a document and you can't quite tell why it looks off. It doesn't look like there's an extra space, but it doesn't look quite balanced. Sometimes when you turn it on, depending on the kerning of the letters, how close they are together, how they're skewed across the page, you might not notice that you had an extra space. Okay, so control page down is a nice one. Let me zoom back out a little bit here. I'm going to do control home to get to the top, and then control page down. Now, if I just hit page down from the top, it takes me one screen down. Nothing to do with the printed page. But if I do control page down, it takes me to the top of the next printed page. So if you have somebody looking at this document on paper, and they're on the phone with you, and you're like, it's at the top of page 4, control page down control page down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're down at the top of page 4, page 3, or page whatever. But it's control page down to the top of the printed page. Page down to get to the next screen, control page down to get to the next. Here's some other ones, not necessarily a common. Shift end, so I'm going to do control home to get to the beginning. By the way, if you're not a keyboard shortcut fan, do these anyway with me today, and then after the class, you never have to do them again. But here's my bet. You're going to find a few that you don't want to live without once you've learned them. I am a keyboard shortcut fan because I started using this software when the earth cooled and the dinosaurs left. So I've always been on the keyboard. I was trained as a typist, trained to keep my fingers on the keys. I find in technology, though, I still like to keep my fingers on the keys for the same reason I did when I was typing on a manual typewriter. I'm more accurate. So I do like the function keys for that reason. All right. So to make your document look professionally produced, and I don't want the rest of this line after that, I'm going to hold my Shift key down and tap my End key, and that will select from there to the end. Yes, you can click and drag across these words, but I'm telling you, it's less frustrating to know precisely where you want to begin. Shift End, no clicking, no dragging, no repetitive motion disorder, no wrist braces. Shift Home, same thing in reverse. So from here, Shift Home, selects from there to the beginning, so I can just delete that, and Word provides header, footer, cover page, and text box design, and get rid of the sentence real easily. Control Shift down arrow selects by paragraph, Control Shift right arrow selects by word, and Control A is select all. Control A select all is handy to know. Let's say, and don't do this by the way, let's say somebody has taken great liberties with your formatting. Some of you are getting seasick just looking at this. So somebody has taken great liberties with your formatting. You're like, yeah, lovely. If I do Control A, I've selected all of my text, the entire document. Let me go this way. So I've selected the entire document, including my crazy colored text over here. Let me get up there. Control A. Here's a shortcut. Control spacebar. Holding Control, hitting spacebar. Did you notice all the fancy colors and fonts went away? Go ahead and try it. Now, I can't see you, so I'm going to be imagining you doing this in the background. Just select a paragraph, change it to a very creative color, maybe your favorite one. Maybe select another, and how I'm selecting, by the way, I'm out here in the left margin, and I'm just double-clicking next to a paragraph. Make it bold, italic, underline. Just single-click if it's just one line, make it bigger. Stay away from your styles for right now. Just use your formatting. Okay. So we got pretty crazy here. Control A selects all of your text. Control spacebar returns it to whatever style is active. When we talk styles, we'll see this again so I can show you how you can reset it. But this is the #1 way when somebody hands you back a crazy document with some crazy formatting. And you don't have to do the whole thing. You can, but if just this paragraph, they wanted to make it red and bold and underlined so you didn't miss it. However, they did turn off track changes where you would have seen it anyway. But just in case they get creative with how they want you to see the changes, select it, and they just make it bold and purple here. Just select it and control space, and that will return it back to whatever format, whatever style is in place. So control A. You can also do some of these tricks with the mouse too. Double click to select a word. You can triple click to select a paragraph. I tried that. Usually after 12 o'clock in the afternoon, my triple clicker breaks. There we go. That was a triple click. This is a double click. But I find it easier to single click out here toward the left, and you can do it as far out as this over here in the margin area. I mean, you know, beyond the margin. Double click takes the whole paragraph. Single click takes a single line. So that's better than clicking and dragging, and it will get the whole line. Go ahead and try some of those. Double click off to the left. See if you can select a paragraph. Double click a word. See if you can triple click. Just something about first thing in the morning, triple clicking is no problem for me. Then after later on in the day, I just can't seem to get 3 clicks in a row. And so it thinks I'm doing a double click and then a single click. So if that's frustrating, just double click off to the left. Okay. So hopefully just in this first few minutes, you found something that you didn't know before that can make selecting text. I think we waste so much time in Microsoft Word squinting and clicking and trying to get in exactly the right spot to select the thing we want to get, and then we don't get it, so we have to go back over it again. Most of you know what the banging sound of the mouse on the desk means. It means I already tried to select it 4 times and I still can't get it. So try these shortcuts instead. So clear formatting. Now that control space bar is a type of clear formatting. What it does though, it's not the same. Let me make this bigger here. So this button here also in this case does the same thing as control space. Okay? But here's where the rubber meets the road. And if you're back in your document and you're looking at your document, especially if you're working on 2 monitors here, I want you to come back up on my screen for a second. So focus up on the screen for just a minute. If I have formatted this as a heading 1, and I have then changed it to purple, it is a purple day for me, and bold, purple, come on now, bold, italic, underline, and I do control space, it's going to return it to the style that was selected. But let me go ahead and put all that crazy stuff back. There we go. This one here, now some of you are using Word 2016. I'm going to bet as many people as we have on today, I'll bet we have at least 2, maybe 3 versions in the room. So we might have 2010, 2013, 2016. Some of you may even have 2007. If you do, 99% of what we're going to see today is applicable to every version. So version should not be a reason for you not to be able to do this. If you are on a Mac, you might have to change some of these shortcuts to Command and arrow, but most of these shortcuts will also work on a Mac. If you find that some don't, hit me up in Q&A and we'll see what we can find. Okay, if I hit this clear button up here, drum roll please, she's finally doing it. You might see this looks like a Tylenol on some of your ribbons. That's 2010 and earlier, but for 2013 and later, it looks like a pink eraser. And we click it, and it actually returns it to normal. So Control Space Bar returns it to the style. The clear formatting button, that little eraser, returns it to normal. Now that may not make a big difference to you now if you don't use styles, but it will, because if you are going to, as I hope you will, adopt using styles for your more complex documents, and someone has changed the color or numbering scheme or something of that, if your style is still set, all you have to do is Control Space Bar, and whatever they did gets thrown away, and it's back to your heading 1 style. It's about a 99% solution for every crazy thing somebody else does to your titles. Okay, Format Painter. You can use the Format Painter button. The Format Painter button has a like shortcut. It's Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V. So let's see what this Format Painter does. Go ahead up to video and make it any color you want. You make it any size you want. Go ahead, get carried away. I'm going to go crazy on mine. Maybe even change the font to something like that. So whatever you decide, go ahead and format the word video any way you like. And I'm going to count to 3, and whatever you have then, you're done. 1, 2, 3. Okay, whatever you have, you're done. Now, you can click the Format Painter button. That's this button up here. Click it once, and you have one opportunity to click and drag it, and then you'll notice it turns off. If you double-click the Format Painter, it stays on until you're done. You might even notice that your cursor changes appearance. So this is one way for you to repeat some formatting. As long as this is highlighted, that whatever format selection you created, that's going to work. Okay, we learned how to clear all our formatting. I'd like for us to do that now. So we're going to do Control A and Control Space, and that will reset it. Let's do maybe a slightly less complex format here on video again. And just do bold, italic, underline, color, whatever you want to do there. And we're going to try this with the shortcuts. It's like Control-C, Control-V, right? Copy, paste. But if you add Shift, all you're copying is the formatting. So Control-Shift-C copies format. Control-Shift-V pastes it. So I'm going to do Control-Shift-C here. And then I'm going to select this line and do Control-Shift-V. And that also paints the formatting. So for my keyboard shortcut fans, you don't have to go find the Format Painter in the ribbon. And by the way, it kind of is in a permanent state of staying on Control-Shift-V until you copy something else. So it's going to, Control-Shift-V will then continue. You don't have to do something special to keep it on. Control-Shift-V just pastes whatever format you used. Good news, this also works in PowerPoint. Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V. If you have formatted a circle to look spherical by doing a beveling or a shadow or a gradient color or something like that, you've got all these formats going on, you can do Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V, and that other shape that you select will take on those same characteristics. Now, I know some of you are like, and Excel too? No. Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V does not work in Excel. There is a format painter there, but it does not work in Excel. We're going to take, I'm going to kind of pull, make sure we're all okay. If there's anything you wanted to see again here as soon as we get past this and this slide. Okay, Control-Y or F4 means do what I did again. So if I make this word here bold, Control-B, bold, I can double click this word and just hit my F4 key and it will do that again, or my Control-Y shortcut and it will do it again. You might be wondering what's the value of having two ways, so why Control-Y and F4? The answer is I have no idea, but why I like it now that you have both of these options is when you have those smaller keyboards with that function key lock, where you have to hit function key to get function F4. So F4 by itself is awesome, but when you've got to hit two keys anyway, Control-Y is closer on the keyboard. and more natural because you know where the Y key is if you type. So you have two ways to do it, Control Y or F4. And to do multiple selections is simply, we'll just select multiple words here. I'm going to double click on Provide. I'm going to hold my Control key down, double click on the word Provides here. It doesn't matter what word you're selecting, by the way. And I'm going to double click on Elements here and the word Document here. So just by holding the Control key down, I can select multiples. Then I'm just going to do Control U for underline. It doesn't matter what you do, but you can select multiple words just by holding your Control key down. So hopefully you've gotten a chance to do some of those. I'm going to take a look in chat. I think there's also a Q&A box. I'm not 100% sure about that, but Carrie, does anybody have any questions in any of the rooms, or is anything coming up that I need to see? Are we all good?
Melissa, I don't see anything in there.
Okay, very good. And everybody who's hanging out in rooms live, hopefully you've gotten a chance to try all this stuff. All right, if you came in a little late, you probably didn't miss anything. We started straight on navigation shortcuts. I noticed a couple of people coming in after the start, but you haven't missed anything truly exciting. For me, honestly, though, this first part about navigating through Word, this alone, if you adopt every single shortcut in here, apart from what you're doing now, the clicking and dragging and the paging down and the squinting and the clicking, I promise you, you will save hours in a week of just scrambling around your big documents especially. I know shortcuts aren't everybody's cup of tea, but in Word, immense time savers. Okay, no matter how much you love your play formatting that you chose, we're going to go into styles now. So we need to start with a clean document. Okay, so we're going to do a Control A here. Whoops, I'm going to click in the middle of the document and do a Control A. No matter how much you love your formatting, we are going to get rid of it. And let me do that again, Control Space. Hopefully no one's assigned any styles at this point, so it should look pretty much the way you got it. For those of you looking for every single shortcut I might mention, most of them are in the handout. Some of them aren't. If I wrote down every shortcut, I think the whole handout would be shortcuts. But if you missed any, hit me up in Q&A, say, hey, I saw you do that cool thing, but I forgot what the shortcut was, and I will absolutely tell you. But most of these things should be in the handout, and if they're not, just jot them down. When you come to one of my classes, I always set you up right at the beginning going, get a piece of paper off to the side or open up Notepad in the background and get ready to record some shortcuts. Not all of them will be in the document, but a good chunk of them will be. I just throw some stuff out here and there. Okay, so that's shortcuts. If your document is beyond repair, if selecting everything with Control A and Control Space has not cleared all the formatting, if you haven't saved it, close it, open it again. I would say at this point, if you have a clean one, let's do a File, Save As. I would put it on the desktop, but put it wherever you're going to find it in case you need to get back to it again. And we're going to save it. I'm going to save it with today's date, 10/30/2018, so that I can always get back to the vanilla one, the plain one, if I need to get back. So hopefully we're all here in a plain document. Okay, when we think about styles, people who do not use styles associate styles only with appearance, how the font looks. A few moments ago when I formatted that heading as a heading 1, it changed, it got bigger, it turned blue, it did all those things. But styles are more than that. Only because I recognize some of the names on the list as people were coming in today. I will venture to say some of you may actually remember WordPerfect and Reveal Codes. Well, Microsoft Word, though it has its own reveal codes function, it's not as helpful as WordPerfect's was, but every time you format something, it is encoded. There's coding that's happening in the background. That coding in Microsoft Word, the thing that codes a heading 1, a heading 2, a heading 3, can actually be read by other applications, and it actually opens up a toolbox that you may not even know that you would have had. And it's also a way to organize your document, as we'll see. So there's 4 good reasons to know styles. Number 1, the navigation pane. Let me see something here. Okay, the navigation pane, easy format changes. We'll see how that worked. That it's very portable to PowerPoint if you've got to make a presentation from a report, and the days of manually typing a dot leader in for a table of contents will be over. Those can be generated automatically if you're using heading styles. Yep, here's another set of shortcuts. I generally don't use anything beyond heading 2, but I know that some of your documents are more complex than that. But Control-Alt-1, Control-Alt-2, Control-Alt-3 is heading 3. I don't believe it goes all the way to Control-Alt-4, but we'll test that here in a minute. But Control-Alt-1, Control-Alt-2, and Control-Alt-3 are heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. It's the same as what's up there. Okay, so let's talk first about the navigation pane. Coming back to our document, I would like for you to use some of the things we just learned. We're going to click to the left of the word video, hold the control key down, click to the left of the word document elements, click to the left of themes and styles. I'm just holding my control key down, and it's a single click. No clicking and dragging, guys. Let's try the new ones out. So let's just select all the way down to, let's see where we are. This picture layouts one, which should be the bottom of the page. So all of the topics on that first page. You can either click on the heading 1 button up here or press Control-Alt-1, whichever you choose. And now what you should see is your headings have changed appearance. But let's see what else happened. If your screen looks like mine, where you just see the document on the screen, you don't see the navigation pane to the left. If you do see the navigation pane, sit tight for a second. If you don't see it, you're going to go to the View tab. Let me get you there. You're going to go to the View tab up here. And in the Show group, you're going to choose Navigation Pane. One more time, that's the View tab up here, and this is every version, guys. No, I take that back. It's every version 2010 and forward. If you're coming through Office 2007, you will not see the navigation pane. Your reading pane may give you some of this functionality, but don't go there. Just hang on for a second. But 2010 and forward, and Word for Mac 2016. I'm not sure if 2011 has, or excuse me, yeah, 2011 has this either, but I know that 2016 does. Okay. So once we turn that on, what is showing up out here are all of your heading styles. And just by formatting these as heading 1, you have made your document push button navigable. Okay. If you have created subheadings, and let's make a few subheadings. We're just going to dummy them in here. So Control Home back to the top. After the word video, we're going to press Enter, and we're going to put subheading and then subheading. Just those 2 words. We're going to make the subheading a heading 2, and you can do Control-Alt-2. You can make the subheading heading 3. And no, Control-Alt-4 doesn't work, so it is just heading 3. Control-Alt-1, 2, and 3. So you'll notice now over on the left, you actually have some subheadings. Let's copy those under Themes and Styles. Now what's happening over here is we are creating collapsible sections, okay? So I can do a right click expand all, and that will expand the full detailed headings, or I can do right-click, collapse all to collapse it to the highest level heading. Now, if you are using 2013 and beyond, you will notice that when you hover over a heading style right in the document, you can actually expand or collapse it right here in the document. Okay? You can expand or collapse it right here. My curiosity, I'm asking my own question. Maybe one of you is communicating with me telepathically. But if I collapse that into a file print, it actually does collapse it in here as well. So something to be aware of. If you had any content down there, it would have disappeared. Okay? So it would have disappeared. Okay, so expand all, collapse all, work with your heading styles. You don't get this kind of functionality in the navigation pane unless you use heading styles. Now, many of you are probably wondering, going, wait, this used to be a lot harder, and you're 100% correct. Styles used to be a lot harder, which is why a lot of people have continued to stay away from them. But just because something was hard 10 years ago doesn't mean it's still hard, kind of like pivot tables for my Excel friends. It's much easier than it used to be. So that's all, and we're really not going to stray too far from heading 1, 2, and 3 here. I'm going to show you how to deal with a numbering scheme since we're here. I just did a copy. Thank you, Cindy. I did a copy and paste. I just selected the stuff, copied it, pressed enter after themes, and just pasted it. Control C, Control V, or right-click copy, right-click paste. That will do it. Okay, so let's talk about easy format changes. And this actually goes back to the story that how I learned styles. I was actually working on a very big document. This is going all the way back to the 90s. And I completed it for this person, and I gave them the document, and they looked at me and said, boy, Melissa, this is just the best thing since sliced bread. It's perfect. It's wonderful. Thank you so much. Would you mind making just one small change? Have you heard that one before? Would you like to make one? Would you mind making one small change? They think it's a small change. You're going to be there till 9 o'clock at night, but they think it's a small change. Here's the change that this gentleman wanted, or the equivalent in this document. Loved the heading styles, wanted to see them in green. So if I did this manually, which I did, I had to go through the document and try to find everywhere it was and change it to the color green. This was a huge document. So I was there quite late. The tech writer on staff was also working late on something else, and she walked behind me and smacked me on the back of the head, as she loved to do, and said, what are you doing that for? And she showed me styles, and this is what I learned, that had I made these heading 1s and heading 2s, we'll just look at the heading 1s right now, here's what I would need to do to change it from blue to green. I'm going to select it. You can either use your mini toolbar here or this one up here. We're not going to make it purple. We're going to make it green. Now here's the wizardry. I'm going to right-click up here on top of my heading 1 button and say update heading 1 style to match selection. Boom. And now they are all green. So I was kind of flabbergasted. So one more time, I did have to go through the entire document and make all of those heading 1s, but I was able to do it. Let me come all the way back to where we were. Most of you should have your heading styles in there. So do this with me. Select one of your heading 1s and change the color. I don't care what color you want to make it. Any color you want. You can even change the font and make it bold if you want to. Now, right-click on top of the heading 1 button up here, and the very first selection says update heading 1 to match selection. Once I click that, now all of the heading 1s are green. And of course, I could do the same thing with the heading 2s. Now, where this really comes in handy is, and we're going to do this in the green text here. If I made this Roman numeral 1, I'm just going to do a big I there, and a right-click, update heading 1 to match selection, I have now instantly done my Roman numeral 3s. and all of my heading 1s will be Roman numerals. I'm going to make this A space, and now I'm going to go to heading 2 and say update heading 2 to match selection. So this one didn't go with it. That's interesting. Oh, because it was a heading 3, that's why. So let's make it a heading 2 and show you that that would turn into B. That turned into C. We do need to go back here and say right click. I love it when Office 365 changes something. So from here, if I went to change the numbering, so from here, if I went to change the list, set the numbering value, it would have to be set to A for each one. I've got a better way to do this, by the way. And now it will begin again. So this is A and B, and this is A. I'm kind of glad I made that mistake up top with a heading 3. So instantly, you're going to, let me make this a heading 2, instantly, it's going to change it, but the default behavior is that it carries the number through. I've bookmarked that in my head of something I want to look up about that because I think you can change the default of continuing numbering. We do, however, want this to continue numbering from section to section. Okay, so if we look up top here, and I want to make a distinction. If we look up top, the numbering that is involved is this middle icon. Let me try to make this bigger here. So as we look at these, you can see on the left you've got bullet points, in the middle you've got a numbered list, and then there's this multi-level list on the right. For the documents that I have seen most of you work with, that's actually the one we need to work with. That's actually the one we need to define. I'm going to take a little bit of a detour here, and then if we need to go back through that, we can. So instead of just typing in the Roman numeral, and it did adapt it, and that's fine, we could come here to this one and say we're going to choose this one, which is very similar to what we've kind of retrofitted. Heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, we've got the A, the typical outline view, and change it to that. And now update heading 1 style to match selection. Now I should be able to go here, enter subheading, Control-Shift-2, and it starts again at A. So that was the difference. So we really need to make it this style, where your heading 2 is an A, and your heading 3 is a 1, and your heading 4 is the A with the parentheses. I'm going to take a giant step back. Hang in there with me for a second. Stay where you are. I'm going to clear everything here and take you through how I would do this if I were creating a document such as you guys use. The first thing I would do is make sure that I have chosen a heading style that's as close to the numbering that I need. Let me start here. So I'm going to choose this one. Now that's a heading 1. This is a heading 2. This is a heading 2. This is a heading 1. I'm just now assigning it heading 1, heading 2. Let's make another one. Heading 3, Control-Alt-3. And you see the numbering is automatic. Enter, enter heading 4. This is an A. So the difference is we are trying to apply this list style formatting, okay? This is the list style formatting we are trying to apply. That makes it heading styles. It also gives it to you over here. It also will begin again from that A, B, C, D for each one rather than continuing the list. Now that was a lot of stuff. What I want you to do is take a few moments and see if you can adapt your numbering scheme, and let me show you a little bit more about that. You can define a new list style here. Format, you're going to, let's see, let me go into format. numbering. So if you go into format numbering here, let me go back so you can see how I got there. Okay. I went to my multi-level list button. I went down to define new multi-level list, and it brings you straight in here where you can define level 1, level 2, and level 3 and make your changes here. Since this is something that you guys are facing a lot, I want to give you a few minutes to try to set up your numbering scheme. I'm actually looking at the clock here in Chicago. It's 2:48. You're not going to hear anything from me until 2:50. So 2 minutes. Give it a shot. I'll be watching Q&A if anybody has a question about that. But take this opportunity and try to set up your typical numbering scheme, remembering that you want to use multi-level list and define new multi-level list. Just make sure that whatever you choose, you see heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 in here. This is the important part about setting up your numbering schemes. So everybody give that a shot. I can't see you, so I won't know how you're doing, but I'll give you a couple of minutes to try that out. And I'm watching Q&A, or chat, I should say. If you're stuck, you know, especially for those of you that are solo on this, you're not in a big room with others that you can kind of lean over and cheat off your neighbor, so to speak. But if you're off on your own and you're giving this a shot and it doesn't work, please let me know. This is a good time for reaching out on that one. And if you're just passively listening, wondering why the quiet is there, we're doing an exercise here in that document and letting people set up a multi-level list. Maybe we'll give you another minute here. Okay. All right. So if you are still doing this process, go ahead and wrap up your last level that you're creating and hit save. We're going to show you how to save this for another day. In fact, if you have successfully set up what yours should look like, colors, fonts, all that good stuff, if you're happy with it, I'm going to have you guys do this. So if you're wherever you are, stop for a second, no matter how far down your process you've gotten. Right now, we're going to save this as a template. File, save as, and that's no matter what version you're using. If you're in 2007, it's Office button, save as. Click on, if you're getting the regular plain old save as dialog box, which you will if you're in 2010, I believe, or 2013, sit tight there. For those of us in the newer versions, I want you to click more options, and now we should all be on the same kind of dialog box. So one more time, File, Save As. If you're in the newest versions, click on more options. We're going to change Save As Type to Word Template, and I don't want you to touch this top line here. Leave it alone. So I'm just going to call this, I'm going to leave mine the same. I want you to change yours as, you know, Katie's numbering or whatever you want to call it, or proposal numbering. So come up with whatever name you want to come up with. Make sure this says Word template here, and make sure you do not change this up top. See why in a minute. Okay, click Save. And now I want you to click File, Close. And then just reopen Word, blank Word document. Give everybody a minute to catch up. If anyone's stuck, hit me up in chat. Okay. Now we're going to create one with that same numbering scheme, File, New. Now, this is going to change by version. You're either going to see My Templates, Custom Templates. In 2016, it says Personal. So locate whatever it is that represents your own templates. And where's the one I created? There it is. Microsoft Word SDA sample file. So I'm going to just choose that. Now look up top here. It didn't open up that document. It made a copy of that document, so then I have all of this numbering. Even if I deleted all of this text, which I just did, I've not changed that template. So if I want to begin something else as introduction, I'm in a blank document now, and I do Control-Alt-1, it adopts that numbering in a second. And I'm going to do Enter. And let's say the first introduction is the project overview, Control-Alt-2, it immediately jumps over and creates an A. So even if somebody went through and changed everything about this, unless they went up here and saved the style, all you would have to do is do Control Spacebar, and it would return to whatever style was in place. So let me walk through those steps again. I'm just going to close this. New blank document. File, New. Find your personal template that you just created. And you can delete everything. I like to leave a guide in my templates, and I think that's very useful for your documents. Leave a guide in there about what goes at whatever level, you know, some instructions. But then before you get going, just delete everything and start creating your heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, whatever those are. So Control-Alt-1, Control-Alt-2, Control-Alt-3, and it's going to automatically adopt that numbering. Multi-level list, save as a template. Those are the keys to success. Multi-level list and save as a template, and then use that template to create all your future documents on the heading styles. Any questions on this one? I'm kind of watching chat here to see if anybody comes up in chat with any questions. Okay. Not seeing anything come up here. This is a good time to ask because we're going to move out of this multi-level list question and move on. Okay. So easy, way back to the deck now, easy format changes. Whatever you set up for your headings, if you save it as a template, you'll be able to get back. But this one is probably the most fun one. Now, in order to get portability to PowerPoint, you need to add a button to your quick access toolbar. If you're in 2013 and 2016, it looks like this. If you're in 2010, it's a slightly richer kind of color. So I'm going to close this document. I'm just going to do a file close. I'm not going to close Word, just going to do a file close here. I'm not going to save anything. And let's open up that original document we had. So let me close this guy. So the original one that Carrie sent y'all. So File, Open, SDA sample file. So that's what I'm opening. Come back to the vanilla one. If you don't have a vanilla one, if that one has been changed already, you can select everything and clear format if you want. I'm going to go Control End to get to the very end of this document. Now, if you don't have this document open, you will not have this information. So I'm going to wait just a couple of seconds, and I'm going to just share with you what you're going to need is this, at least this much. Presentation outline, excuse me, not that. My presentation title, this information. For those of you who have the document already, change the bracket your name to actually your name, but at least a couple of slides here. So if you kind of look behind, what we got going on here, this is actually laying out a presentation. If you do PowerPoint presentations, you know the craziness that happens when you're trying to type in those, you'll pardon the expression, stupid little boxes in PowerPoint. It reformats your text, it changes the size, it skews things to places you don't want them, and it's frustrating. And you end up typing and formatting and typing and formatting and typing and formatting. So one of the ways I avoid that whole mess is by beginning my presentation actually in Microsoft Word. So the title is my presentation title, and I'm going to make that a heading 1. Now, I'm back in vanilla world, so mine will just look like this. If you're still working in your other heading style, yours might look a little different, but hopefully we're all back in the vanilla document. This is a subtitle, and I'm going to make that a heading 2. So either click on it or use Control-Alt-2. Following along, we're going to make agenda. I'm going to hold my Control key down. The second thing 1. The second thing 2. The second thing 3. And summary and thank you. So I'm holding my Control key down and selecting this. Notice I'm skipping the first thing 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to do heading 1 or Control-Alt-1. Earlier on when I started talking about styles, I said it is encoded and that other applications can read it. We're about ready to find out how PowerPoint reads heading 1 and heading 2. So now we're going to select all our little bullet points in here, Control-Alt-2. Control-Alt-2, and yes, you can select them multiples with your Control key too. Control-Alt-2. Even this word chart, make it Control-Alt-2. And here's why. As I'm designing my presentation, I know I'm going to put a chart, some chart on the thing 3 slide. If I know which chart, I may even name it in here. But I want to leave a placeholder for it as I'm creating my presentation. So I just want to put kind of a reminder, but if I don't format it as a heading style, it is not going to show up in PowerPoint. So PowerPoint reads from words, the heading styles, okay? Just the heading styles. I'm going to suggest that you copy all this stuff, right-click copy or Control-C to a new document and Control-Paste. Just in case you had any of the stuff above it formatted. So all we have out in a single document here is the outline of our presentation. These are heading 1s. And all the bullets are heading 2. Now, the thing that everybody needs to have on their quick access toolbar is this little guy here called Send to Microsoft PowerPoint. Probably you don't have it, so I'm going to walk you through finding it. For all of you, to the far right of your quick access toolbar, there is a drop-down arrow of some kind, and that's every version 2007 forward. So everybody's got this. So we're going to click on that little down arrow here, and we're almost to the bottom of the list is something that says More Commands, and we're going to select that. We go back again, click the down arrow, More Commands. And now we're going to change popular commands to all commands. Now, do you notice on mine, that's not just delay from being on a webinar portal. It is actually delayed just under a second. It delays before it comes back and all commands changes this list. So just be aware, be patient with it. Once you change this to all commands, give it a second to refresh this list here. Now you could scroll, but we all know how Melissa feels about scrolling. So I'm just going to click on one item in this big list, just one, doesn't matter which one. We're looking for a button called Send to Microsoft PowerPoint, so I'm going to type an S, and that's going to get me all the way down to Save. Now, I'm, again, not going to click and drag. I'm going to click underneath this little scroll button here. 1, 2, 3, 4 times? 4 times. Depending on your resolution, you may have to do 1 or 2 more or less. Everybody should find somewhere there, Send to Microsoft PowerPoint. If you found it, double click it or click it and hit the Add button. I'm going to go back for those of you that are catching up. Hit my arrow, More Commands. I changed Popular Commands to All Commands. Waited a second for it to refresh. Clicked down here anywhere and typed an S. And then I'm going to click under the scroll button 1, 2, 3, 4 times. You might have to do more or less, and you're looking for something that says Send to Microsoft PowerPoint. Now, when you first put it there, it's going to be at the bottom of your list. If you don't like where it is, you can use these arrows to move them up or down. Once you have it where you like it, I'm going to put mine all the way to the end. Click OK. All right. So we have our outline. We used heading 1 and heading 2, and yes, you could use heading 3 for sub-bullets, heading 4 for sub-bullets. I don't use those, but many people do. And now we're going to click the magic button. Look for that button that you just added. I put mine at the end so it's easy to find. And I'm just going to click it. It's going to open up PowerPoint, and it's going to lay out your presentation. Now, typically when I teach this in the classroom, somebody forgets that they're at work and they say something out loud they wouldn't normally say in fixed company. So if you just did that, it's okay. You have my forgiveness. Because, yeah, it's so much easier just to start this in Word. Now, I'm going to do the next steps rather quickly. I don't know if I was kind enough or smart enough. Let's see. Yep, I wasn't kind enough or smart enough to put these steps because they're really PowerPoint steps. But I would not do this on the screen. If you want to know how to set yourself up for success here, grab a pen. So select all the slides. That would be the first thing I would do. Select all the slides, and I did that with Control A, just like in Word. Control A selects them all. I'm going to right-click on any one of them. Let's do an Enable Editing up here. Selected them all, right-click on any one of them, and do a Reset Slide. Now watch what happens on the screen when I click Reset Slide. You notice how everything turned black and the font changed a little bit? Everything went back to the default. Here's why I did that, so that I could drop in any design theme that I want, and it will adopt that design theme. Just because I clicked on it, it will change fonts, it will change colors, it will change everything. So you open it up. Well, when it opens up, Control A, select all of your slides, right-click Reset Slide. For those of you that work with a template already, what you could do is then select all of those slides, reset them. Make sure that you reset them no matter what. But then you can take all those slides and paste them inside of your template, and they should all adopt your template's formatting automatically. So there's just a little bit of a bonus there for PowerPoint. But heading styles, guys, we made our presentation here in a word processing package that does word processing really well. And all we had to do to get PowerPoint to read it was to change it from plain text to heading 1 and heading 2 and heading 3, some of you, if you tried your heading 3. And then you can just right-click Reset Slide, and you can go to the one that has the chart and erase the word chart and put something else in there. But if you don't do it, the word chart doesn't come in. So before I move on, I see I've got a little red light here. Let's see. All of the type went to one side rather than several. Okay, thank you, Cindy. So when that happens, it's because everything became a heading 1. So close your PowerPoint. I don't want to leave you in the lurch here. Close your PowerPoint, go back to Word, and make sure that when you click on your bullet points here, that you see that your bullet points are heading 2, that your slide topics are heading 1. If everything went onto one slide, it may be that that everything, oh, that shouldn't have done it. Usually it'll go one slide each if it's all heading 1, or if they're all heading 2, they would end up on one slide. So if the top thing were a heading 1 and everything else was a heading 2, that would cause it to go to one slide as well. So what I would normally do in a situation like that, and I can do it because I do it fast and I do it all the time, I would actually clear this, come back in, heading 1, heading 2. Heading 1, select my bullet points, heading 2. Heading 1, heading 2. So just kind of redo them. It's not as hard once you either work with the shortcuts or you get used to this method. It is pretty quick. So even if you get an ugly presentation, if somebody's given you an ugly presentation, you can simply export it to an outline and open it in Word, clear all the formatting, and do that heading 1, heading 2 thing. So I've just done it all again, heading 1 and heading 2. Click my little PowerPoint there. Should put everything out here like this. Control A, right click, reset slide. And now you should be golden and you can change whatever design you want. So Cindy, if you want to come back in and let me know whether you were able to do it. And for those of you who have not been on training with me before, you know, I don't disappear after today. So if there was anything we tried today that you couldn't do, I fully expect to get an email from you, and we'll put that up at the end, where to find me, how to find me. You can always hit my website, melissaemct.com, go out to the contact page and write to me. Sometimes I already have a video out there that has the answer to the question. Judy Beebe knows that. When I post, Judy usually shares it. But I do have some videos out there on some of these things, so feel free to write to me. And I will close the box here and move on. All right, I'm going to close down the PowerPoint presentations that are not what I need. I'm going to close down my outline. Now about this, because I'm not going to save mine, but about this. If you do presentations which are similar, so if you're delivering proposals, if you're presenting that proposal to a committee, anything that you do a lot of, you may want to save the outline, because then you're just going to tweak the outline, send it to PowerPoint, drop in your format, and go. So you can do that. I find it easier to keep my outlines and modify the outlines rather than modifying the decks, because then I'm starting clean. I don't have to worry about anybody's super secret squirrel crazy formatting in there that I can't deal with. I just start with a new one. All right, let's say don't save out here. All right, so with our documents, I'm going to come way back to the Wayback Machine here. And in the original document, let's do a file, save as, sample file, 10/30/2018-2. So I'm going to create another one here. I'm going to start with presentation outline here and do Control-Shift-End. That selects everything down to the bottom. And now all I have left are those paragraphs and topics. Let's quickly go in and select one or more, I would say 2 or more of these little topic guys if they're vanilla. I'm going to do all of mine because I can. Yeah, it's just down to picture layouts, so just picture layouts. and Control-Alt-1. That's enough. Just a heading 1. Let everybody get caught up there. So we're back in the vanilla document. We just selected some of those and made them heading 1. You can grab the original document that Carrie sent y'all if you want to open that up and start from there. And just make some of those or all of those heading 1s, just at least 2 or 3. Okay, we're going to drop in a table of contents, and we're going to do it first by getting us on our own page. So I'm going to hit Control-Enter. That is a hard page break. I don't like hard page breaks in general, but we're going to do that for this one. Control-Home will get me back up to the top. Now, because I'm working with Show Hide on, I can see where my cursor is relative to that page break. So I know that it's happening before that page break. That's another thing when working with Show Hide on is really useful. All right, so to get the table of contents in, I'm going to go to the References tab, and I believe this is the same in every version that anybody would be using. So on the References tab, I'm going to come here to Table of Contents. You can choose one of the existing ones here, but just to kind of show what's possible, I'm going to come down here and say Custom Table of Contents, but you could choose one of the other ones. Now it's here where I can say how many levels to show. Now in our particular document that we just did, we only have heading 1s. But that one that we did back a little while ago that had the multiple, subheadings and sub-subheadings, we can choose to only show 2 levels or 3 levels or only 1 level or 5 levels or however many levels we want to choose. I'm going to leave the default here as 3. That's what it was set up as. We can have it use hyperlinks instead of page numbers, or we can just take that off and it'll put page numbers, however you want to do that. I kind of like to take the hyperlinks off just so we can see what it would look like as a printed thing. And click OK. Voila, we have a table of contents. Now, if we go to the end, Control End, and let's go to, I don't know, Quick Parts. Oops. And do Control Enter to drop a page break kind of midway there. Now we've changed where the page is. So if we go back to the top and right-click anywhere on top of the table of contents and say Update Field, and I usually do update entire table anyway, just in case I changed any headings, you can see that it changed the page numbers automatically. Now, if I hold my Control key down and click anywhere on this line that says Quick Parts, maybe not so much. Okay, so closer to the page number, make a liar out of me. So Control-click, and it will take me to that section of the document. So Control-Home, Control-click. So I've gotten used to using, of course, using the navigation pane for moving around a document. But if people are used to seeing and they know how to handle a table of contents, or that's familiar for them, just show them if they go up here and Control and click on a page number, just tell them to aim for the page number. It'll take them to that section of the document. All just for using heading styles, guys. That was it. It built it for me all by itself just because I have heading styles. Now, you can do a manual table of contents now beginning with Office 2013, but I don't know why you would want to do that. If you can put your heading styles in and have Word do it automatically, and then better, update it or allow you to update it when the page numbers change. What I like about this for complex documents is it allows me to set up just my outline and give all my heading 1, heading 2 styles. Go out, create my table of contents so I can see how this thing is going to lay out, and then start filling in content. And when I've done some content, I might go back up to the top, right-click, update page layout, or update the page numbers and see where everything lays out up there. And so if I notice a stray heading, so let's say someone actually did this. So that's kind of crazy, right? If when I go in here, right-click, update field, update entire table, you'll see this really crazy thing show up in the middle. It's like, what's that? Control click, and it's like, oh yeah, somebody accidentally made that a heading 2. I can just come in here, clear the format, put it back where it belongs, and I'm back in business. Come back to my table of contents, right click, update field, update entire table, and it's gone. Take a moment, insert your table of contents if you haven't already. And again, that was on the References tab, Table of Contents, and you can choose one of the presets or go to Custom. Just don't choose Manual. Choose one of the presets, one of the automatics, and then Custom. If it's numbered, so if I created a document, I'm just going to do this. If you care to try it with me, feel free. I'm going to do a new with that template that we built and do a table of contents here, references, table of contents, custom, okay. You notice it took the numbering. So all the numbering will translate to your table of contents as well. So that's pretty cool once you adopt that heading 1, heading 2 with the numbering. That's why you always want to begin on that multi-level list with the heading styles where you can see it in order to build these numbering schemes. Okay, so tables of contents was kind of like a blend from styles over to document elements. So creating the document is one thing, and before we even get to these later things, these document elements beyond table of contents, the correct way, in my opinion, and it is only my opinion, to construct a large document is to get your outline in as best you can. Heading 1, heading 2, just as far as you know it. There may be additional things, you may change some things, but get your outline in. Then get all your content in. And don't worry about pagination or paragraphs or where the lines are breaking or what it necessarily looks like. Just get your content in. At that point, with just your headings and your content, if it needs to be, other people need to get involved, then you send it around for them. Don't build in all of your elements at this point. If you want to, you can build in your table of contents. But I wouldn't even do that at this stage if you're going to involve other people. Get your outline in with your heading styles, get all your content in, and don't worry so much about the rest of the formatting. Send it around. Let people type in their pieces of each section. When you get it back, because they will have changed things, select the whole thing and do Control Space, and it will reset it back to your heading styles, whatever you had set, and then start building in these additional document elements like tables of contents, headers, footers, sections, that kind of thing. I think when we try to do too much at the front end, we end up retrofitting things in not doing them in the best, most durable way. And when I say durable, I want your documents to be able to survive crazy revisions. And the less we do out front, the more straightforward and clean what we do out front as people are coming in to edit it, the less back end work we're going to have to do. So let's assume I'm going to close down my numbered one here, come back to my document that has my table of contents, and we'll try to work in this one pretty much for the rest of the session. So we've got our table of contents up front, we've got our heading styles, some content, headers and footers. So since Excel 2007, I believe, getting into the headers pretty easy. You double click at the top of the page and it gets you in there. So you can tell because you see this dashed line. To get out of your header, you can double click in the middle of your document. Now, I have noticed something weird recently, and if you have too, I'm just here to tell you, you're not alone. I sometimes click up here, work on a header, but then when I click down here, it doesn't automatically close the header. If that happens to you, like no matter what you do, your header and footer are open and you can't fix anything. It's not doing it to me now, of course, because I have y'all here. Just remember, you can go to headers and footers and then close header footer, and that will also get you out. So up here is where you can put your header. So this is my sample report. And you can make it whatever kind of formatting you want. Generally make mine a little bigger. You can use one of your styles here, like a title style. When you hit tabs, the tabs are already automatically set up here in your header, or at least they should be. Sample report. If I hit tab, it should center tab. So if I want to put today's date in, it's Alt-Shift-D. I don't know that I have that in the handout, but Alt-Shift-D is your date, Alt-Shift-D. And then out here, maybe I want to put I don't know, classification, so company confidential. So the 3 tabs are automatically set, and again, you can format those any way you like if you want to make them bigger, change the color, whatever, just so your header's there. Now I'm going to double click in the middle of my document. My header now occupies every page in my document from my table of contents forwards. Okay, basic header. Now, footer's the same. Let's do a footer and a page number. Let's complete the basic stuff before we move too far. So if I happen to have my header open, I can just click Go to Footer, or I can just double click at the bottom of the page. Now, all I'm going to put down here, I'm just going to hit my Tab key, which should get me to the center. I'm going to type the word page. And then up here in the Header Footer Design tab, toward the left, I'm just going to insert the page number. I always use current position. I always use plain number. Feel free to experiment with those styles, but you can, you know, I start out plain, and then whatever format I apply to it, it works. So this now is automatic. So from the very first page, there's my page 1, 2, and 3. Now, what if I want page numbering to actually start on the actual first page of content here? Well, what I can do is get into my footer, and right up here it says different first page. This is the simplest way to break up the formatting from the very beginning. If everything else is going to be numbered sequentially and it's just the first page you need to separate, just click on different first page. So I no longer, let me get this down to a page view, I no longer have a page number here, but I do have one here. And that page number is still page 2. If that's okay with you, then leave it. If you want this to say page 1, here's my cheat. I come down here, I select the 2, and under page number, format page number, I just tell it to start at page 0. And now that's actually page 1. So I just ask it to start at page 0, and then my page 1 is actually my page 1. Now this is good for one difference. So different first page, that's all this addresses. This does not address anything beyond just a different first page. If you want to do something different on each section, so if each topic, for example, or you're coming down and you want to change what it says up there, now we need to do sections. So if we wanted to, for example, here, do I just have 2 pages? No, I don't. Let me click back in here. I actually have, how many? 2 pages. Okay. Let's say at quick parts. Now I have quick parts at the top here. Let's say I wanted to change the header right here from sample report 10/30/2018 to additional information. So where it says sample report, I really want that to say additional information. The way we would do that is to first insert a section break. Now, when I said insert, probably most of you headed up to the insert tab, which is, hey, where I'd be looking for it, but that's not where it is. It's actually on the layout tab or page layout in the earlier versions. So on the layout tab, in the same place in every version, I believe, you'll see a breaks button. And I'm going to drop that down. Now, mind you, my cursor is right in front of quick parts here. So if you don't have that just wherever your page 2 starts is fine. So breaks, and this you have to do this carefully because if you choose the wrong one, you will get undesirable results. Section break, I can make it continuous if the page break is already there, or I can say next page if it's going to move. Okay, so that's a page break. Let's go back up and get rid of that page break. So we'll do this for real here. So insert here. Breaks, section break, next page. That will bring quick parts to the next page. And you notice that it has cleared the heading. Now, yours may not have cleared the heading. I know that this did not always work. Usually, the heading stays with whatever was previous, but this one didn't. So what we're going to do here is unlink to previous. We want to unlink that completely, and we want this to say additional information, tab, the date, Alt-Shift-D, tab, company confidential. The removal of this heading seems to be a 2016 thing or an Office 365 thing, so yours may not have removed, and all you might have to do is change the word additional information. So now that I have unlinked to previous, that's the most important step before you type anything, unlink to previous. I haven't changed anything. Oh, it did it down here too, so it should have done page number down here, and I don't know why it didn't. Yours may be working just fine. Page number, current position, plain number. So hopefully yours is working better than mine. I always like it when I get surprised by Microsoft. We're going to start at page. We're going to continue from previous section, and now we have page 2. There we go. All right. So this says additional information now. This still heading is, oh, there it is. This says sample report. The first page has nothing. This went to 0 here, and we don't want to show our page number here. That's all very interesting. Mine is behaving very weirdly, but there you have it. So insert section break next page. That's on the layout tab, breaks. This is not just a simple page break, it's a section break next page. That allows you to specify different headers and footers on the pages as you go. Give it a shot, take a few minutes, see if you can get a section break in there and change the heading on your second section. By the way, it's really tiny down here, and I can't even show it to you because of the way the magnifier is used, but if you can see where my little circles are beaconing in the lower left-hand corner, I see section 1 down there. If you don't, you can do a right-click just down there and turn on section, and that will show you what section you're in. So now that I'm over here in section 2, it is changed to section 2. If I go back and click here, I'm back in section 1. That makes it clear to you what section you're actually changing. Okay, section breaks can be the death of you. Okay, so here's my recommendation and why I said first, put your outline out there with heading styles, get everyone to get their content in wherever it belongs, and then start adding your elements, your tables of contents, and your section breaks. Then, not before. Because you can see how easy it would be for somebody to inadvertently delete a section break, people who don't know that you have those in there. They have no idea how you got the different headings on each page, and they don't care. What they know is that it doesn't look the way they want it to look, so they're going to start deleting things. So I would wait until you have the document largely assembled, at least in first draft or second draft, and then put in your section breaks. Okay? Be aware you can have section breaks that appear in the middle of a page. Let me show you how that might show up. I'm just going to choose one of my paragraphs here. on layout, columns, I'll make it 3 columns. You see the section breaks? Now let's see if they fixed it version to version. Yeah, it did mess up my page numbers. So when you use these to divide text into columns, you may occasionally notice that your page numbers will go like from page 1 to page 5 because it is trying to read these section breaks as if they were pages. So I wouldn't use these. These are great for newsletters, not so much for a complex document. Honestly, what I would do, this seems like a cheat, and it is. Let me clear the formatting on here. I would actually insert a 3-column table and bring in the text, copy, just as it's showing here, copy, paste text, just as it's showing here in the columns, as if it were columns, paste text. So do it, but then you're going to remove it here in a minute. Paste text. Now, I'm going to get rid of this whole monstrosity. Maybe. And that section break and this section break. Now that I have it how it would normally be columnized, if that's a word, I'm going to take the borders all off. So when it prints, it looks like 3 columns, but I haven't killed my page numbering. So that's a cheat. I accept that it's a cheat, but if you have to have columns in the middle of your document, do them so you know where it's going to break up and put that data inside tables. So watch your page numbering with something like that. Okay, multiple author techniques. So when they have when they have killed it, so here we are. This is your document. I'm going to do a save here. And then I'm going to do a save as, and I'm going to say this is the 3rd version of this. And this is the version they will have given back to you. So they've made this green and bold and italic, and they have changed your headings to some crazy font here, but only some of them. Okay, so this is what you got back. First of all, first thing to try is Control-A, Control-Space. That's the first thing to try, and it should bring it back. Other than that, another thing you can do is copy. So I'm going to do a copy here. I'm going to go back to the previous document, open to. So I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to attempt to paste it here. It first comes in the hideous green. Then you can just do Control and choose to keep text only, and it will automatically adopt whatever formatting is around them. So either take their revision, select the whole thing, and do Control-Space to get all of the formatting back to your styles, or you can copy-paste their stuff, put it inside of yours, and choose this option, text, paste as text, and then it should adopt the formatting around it. Track changes is always my preference. One thing I'm really excited about is the change that they've done in the last 2 versions for track changes. So this is on the Review tab. We turn on track changes, and the default is not all markup. The default, I believe, is actually simple markup, where if I delete the word coordinated, all you see is a red line here. If I make this bold, all you see is a red line. You can also turn it to no markup, and they don't see anything. So I'm going to delete the word need here. I'm going to say buttons and contextual things here. They're typing away. They're happy because they see it the way they would have revised it. However, when you get it, all you have to do is say, show me all markup. And then you're seeing all of the markup. For those of you in a SharePoint environment, you probably know by now, if you're SharePoint 2010 or beyond, that you can co-author inside of Microsoft Word. So if the document is stored in SharePoint, 2 of us can be in that document at the same time editing. If that is how you're going to have revisions done, turn track changes off before you put it up in the library. So turn track changes on. Forget everything I said. Turn track changes on before you store it to the library. Those people editing in the online Word app will never see any changes to their screen. Everything will be fine, but you will see this when you bring it back down and open it in Word. So turn track changes on before you send it up for multiple people to revise it so that you have control over which changes to accept or reject. The other option you have is something called compare combine. You can compare versions. You can also compare two documents and see what the difference was. So this one's already saved, so we'll save this one. We'll go to the one that is a little cleaner, and we'll save this one. Let me make this simple markup. Actually, I'm going to accept all changes here, so we keep it simple. And now I'm going to go over to compare two documents. You can compare versions, but I'm going to compare two documents, and the original one was, there we go. Should see it here. Let me go look for it on my desktop. Cool. Wonder where it went. This is when I've outsmarted myself. Hang on, guys, 1 second. Let's see where these things are getting saved. Save as, and this is going to internal projects. Perfect. Okay, so you would just need to find where you saved it. So I'm going to do compare, and this is clearly going to my SharePoint internal projects. There it is. Let's make sure I get the right one. So I'm going to compare 2 with 3. So you just select the original, whatever you consider the original and revised, and click OK. It will then give you, and this is a very busy screen. I accept that. You can close some of this. Your revisions is kind of a log of all the revisions made. What I prefer to do is just look at it this way. And it's showing it to me as if track changes were on between those two versions. So it's showing you all those changes, and then you can decide what to accept or reject. Here's one, here's the other. So that's compare combine. Coming down to the wire here. So track changes, turn it on. Simple or no markup. Compare combine. The difference between compare and combine, combine creates a third document. Compare just shows it to you. That's it. If you are going to create if somebody turned track changes off because they figured out how to do it, don't fret, just get their version of it, turn combine on, and then you'll get a third document that will show your last best version with theirs as revisions. So that will work there. I wanted to leave some time for Q&A. Everything is on the table, guys. If there's something that you saw earlier on, just because we're already way past it, if you wrote down questions or if there's something you couldn't do, please come back to me. After the program, go to melissaemct.com and hit the contact page. Don't attempt to send me any attachments when you do that contact. That will just reach out to me and connect us, and then when I email you back, you'll be able to attach documents. So, Carrie, do we have any questions in your room?
Let's see. Any from our room? No? I'm getting a bunch of shaking heads and need to practice this more is mostly what I'm hearing. Chat window's open, so if you guys have questions to pop in there. We can also selectively unmute, but the chat box works better for most kinds of questions because then everybody can see them. Okay, so on the practicing more thing, so what I would like to hear is people are trying stuff out and watching the chat box as well. What one thing did you see today that you're like, I really need to practice that some more? What one type of thing did you see today that you want to practice more? I'll throw mine in. It was the separate footers and headers for pages within a document, linking them and changing the page numberings and things like that. Right. So the hot tip, so yeah, whatever happened to me is, thank you Microsoft 365 for updating my software yet again when I didn't know you were doing it. But for most of you,
the process is, after you have your document largely laid out, go ahead and put in your section breaks next pages wherever you want them, and immediately unlink from previous wherever you want it unlinked. Then go back and put in your headers. If you do it while, you're going to forget one if you just try to like section break next page, let me change it, okay, and go to the next one. Don't do that. So insert your section breaks first, unlink to previous, either for both headers and footers or just headers, and then go in there and start putting them in. Anything else is an invitation to a frustrating afternoon. What else do we have? What I see chat popping up here.
Yeah, somebody was asking about the recording. It'll take us a couple of days to get it converted and saved and sent to the registrants, but we will send this out so that people can replay and practice again.
And thanks, Cindy, for getting back to me and letting me know that the heading style thing with PowerPoint worked. Okay, and in footers, how do you insert page of page? Well, let's go see. All bets are off. I'm not gonna try to cheat here. Let me come down to this one, and if I'm doing page number, you know, that should be number of pages, should be a field here, right? Page, insert, current position, more page numbers from office.com. Let's see if they give us one of those. I know they make it really easy in Excel, but they're sure not doing that here. So I think, let me do current position, plain number, and
Melissa,
see.
it was in that drop-down box.
It was? Okay.
It was, yeah. Yep. If you scroll down, it was under bold. I saw it go by.
Okay. I believe you.
Yeah. There it is. One of
Hot
blank.
dog.
Yeah. There you go. Yep.
You get to teach the teacher something. That makes it automatic. So who figured that one out?
That was actually Karen here in our office.
Okay, Karen, you're going to be famous in Facebook. Let me write down Karen's name because I'm going to post that out. I think that's cool.
Whoa. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
I won't. I don't use last names or companies or anything, but I will say, hey, Karen came up with this in my word seminar, so
woohoo!
You get to be famous. But I mean,
right,
you know, those are the kind of tips, guys. I've been doing this for 100 years, and I still learn things about this every day. Okay. Fentress wants to be the presenter to do what? I'm not sure what's going on back there, Carrie.
Me neither. Fentress Denver. Is there something that you want to do? Oh, there we go. She's got a question.
Okay, how can you reference graphics, tables, images within the body of a document? Okay, so here is what I would do. Here's what to look for. Thank you for that question, by the way. It's a good one. I'm going to put a couple of images in here, but you can do this with tables as well. Well, let me do a table. Actually, we have one, don't we? Okay, so with a table, we'll start there. Under references, you would insert a caption, table 1, sub 4 columns, making stuff up here. I'm going to go through and create one more table in here. Lalisha, thank you very much for that question about macros classes. I don't teach VBA coding. I do teach how to record macros. I am trying to get away from the macro world as much as I can, only because the one thing that Microsoft changes from version to version is VBA. And so we end up getting locked into our macros, and then we can't do anything else. So, but yeah. All right, so let me do here. All right, so we have another table, and I'm going to go to references, and I'm going to insert a caption, and this is going to be table 2 and fruit basket. All right, now I'm going to do some pictures, and I'm doing all this because I want to show you what a table of figures and a table of tables actually would look like. So insert picture. Most of you who know me know what you're going to see here. I'm going to put it's an old picture of her now, but the grandbaby, got to put her in. So there's one picture. And we'll do one more. Insert another picture. We'll put in this one. It's the beach in Spain. Okay. So now we've got a couple of pictures. I'm going to put captions in on those. Notice what happens when I go to references and put in insert caption here. It says table. We can change the label. It should do it automatically. Yours may have automatically changed to figure, but this is figure 1, and this is the lily. And we'll click OK here, and this one may come up automatically when I do insert caption. Yeah, figure 2, the beach. Okay. So now, let me actually turn track changes off, review, accept, and stop tracking. There we go. So what I can do, either at the beginning or the end, and maybe I'll do it here at the beginning, is on references, I can insert a table of figures. If I like that style, I can leave it. I can use hyperlinks here if I want to. And it's going to give me figure 1, figure 2. I should be able to, though, insert a table of tables. Caption label. Let's see what it does there. Okay. Right, so I insert my figures and then inserted my tables, and now just like with my table of contents, I can control click and go back there. Let's see, let me come back, it's a long question here. Was that, let me go back, reference graphics, tables, images within the body of the document? Coming back to Fentress Denver there, did that answer your question before I go on to the next one? Sort of. Okay, come back and tell me what kind of a clarification you need. I'm going to move on to the next question. And if you can let me know specifically what you're looking for there, I will answer the question. So that was that one. From Amanda, given it to format ones you did not create. Oftentimes when you update the table of contents, the formatting of the table of contents in the talk is different. Some words all caps, some words bold. So just like we have styles for headings, Amanda, so just like we have styles for headings, you also have styles for your table of contents. If I go to home and I've just selected the word video here, and I should see all of my styles in here. Let me come back to this guy. So all of my styles, I should see, there it is. All right, let me show you how I got there. It's been a long time since I've done that. So I'm clicked into video here, the table of contents item. Instead of clicking on the gallery, I'm clicking just below it on that dialog box launcher, and it is using a Talk 1 style. You may have to go in here and change the style or reset it. So I'm wondering if I do a right click, update Talk 1 to match selection, or try that control space, or try to modify it and set it back, but that's where you're going to find that. And Amanda, let me know as well whether that answered your question. Coming down here, Fentress will do. Okay, and yeah, you can either write to me in here or write to me later. How important is it to change? Oh, thank you. That was one of the ones that came in before compatibility mode. If you are using Office 2013 or beyond, it is time to stop using compatibility mode. Everything needs to be changed to the new versions. With 2016 and the newest out-of-the-box versions of Office being 2019, it is starting to abandon some of the old accommodations and compatibility style. Compatibility style actually goes all the way back to 2003. So if you're still creating documents in compatibility mode, you will end up with some issues, formatting issues. Things will not look the same way as you expect in a later version. So I would say for right now, stop saving things in compatibility mode. If you get something in compatibility mode, do the conversion. Convert it right away and deal with whatever problems you're going to find. So go through, take a look at your formatting, see what broke, fix it, and then leave it now as a new format version. The 97-2003 really does only accommodate XL 97 through 2003. Hopefully we're beyond that. And thank you, Gretchen and Emily. So hopefully we're beyond the need to go to compatibility mode. As I'm thinking through what those questions were that I got an email, let me take a quick look. I think we got to both of them. So this was the numbering. Convert the compatibility mode. So when you get something in compatibility mode, when you click on the File tab, you should see Convert right here. And Convert should let you convert that document right from the File tab. It should say Convert. Mine says Protect because this is in compatibility mode, but you can convert it right there. So there was that. All right. And that once you convert it, don't do any changes to the numbering. That's the other thing I want to mention. Don't do any changes to the numbering before you convert it. So first convert it and then do the numbering. Headers and footers inserted into it. Okay. This one, and I think I answered some of it in the email, Carrie. Yeah, try first doing that, selecting everything in control space. That may even reset some of your headers and footers. And then if it doesn't, scrapping and starting over headers and footers, guys, not necessarily a bad idea if people have gone in there and made a mess of things. When you know how to do it, when you know about section breaks and you know to check for where section breaks are, the headers and footers shouldn't take that long as you wait until the document's largely constructed before you do that. Okay. Any other questions popping up in your room, Carrie?
No, that was, those are all very good. Oh, one more, hang on. How to insert a landscape page into a portrait document.
Section break. So let's do it. Let's come over here and say this page is going to be landscape. So we need a section break here, and it's going to be, make sure I'm in the right spot here, press my home key, layout, section break. I'm going to make it continuous only because I'm at the top of the page there. You have to do two, one at the beginning. Here's one at the end. Good. So I already have one, but make sure you do a section break at the top and bottom of what you want to have landscape. Now we're going to go to orientation and landscape, and it should just do the section. It may pop up a dialog that asks you, let me do a view one page. It should come up with a dialog that asks you, do you just want to do it this section? And most of the time you should say yes. It seems like in 2016 it's just accepting that as the default. And that's how you would put a landscape page right in the middle. Good question.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. All right, any other questions from anybody? We got about 5 minutes left on the clock, so if you have questions, this is the time to ask. Melissa, thank you. This is so much information.
It's a lot, but you know, I tell you, if all you got was shortcuts and you can do things faster, you now bought back time in your day that you can spend learning the rest of the stuff.
True. True. Okay, last call for questions. Anybody else in here? No?
Okay, Amanda, no, didn't work. So Amanda, I'll ask for you to reach out to me. Let me go. Let me see one thing before I just blow it off. So Amanda, I don't know how many layers deep the styles are going there. So I would say if you want some help, write to me after the program. Just hit the contact page, reach out, say I'm Amanda, the one with the crazy document, and I will write back to you, and then we can send documents back and forth. If you need for me to sign an NDA before you send me a document, I'm happy to do it because I want to help you get that figured out.
All right, so if there's no other questions, we can go ahead and close this out. Melissa, thank you again so much, and I see your contact information up there for anybody. And I hope you guys all learned lots of good stuff. We're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you so much.
Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.